Buddy, how you doing? Thursday afternoon, my time. Thursday evening, other places, afternoon, and probably Friday morning, some places. How you doing? Trust your day is going well. Hello, Brian. How you doing? Have to get you on, buddy. Got to hear your story on the West. Red, good to talk to you. Ellie, Carol, Myra, good to hear from everybody and see you. So, hey, been doing yesterday, had a great day, went out and mended fences and fire mitigation and got to work out in the outdoors. Hi, Sherry. By the way, tomorrow night I will have Sherry Spears on. I think we'll need to have her. Travis, good to see you. Kenneth, Paul. So, I just want to talk about favor. So we've had lousy weather around here in Colorado, and it's been hot, and then it gets cool. So yesterday I had to do this, knew I had to get it done. So heading out, had all the tools and implements of destruction, and out of nowhere, literally, this cloud bank came in, and what should have been about 85 degrees ended up being 65 degrees. So there you go. It works. Hello, Deborah Decker. How are you? So I've got some things I want to show you because I think we're going to get into some pretty serious stuff. The title of this show is Seriously, How Bad Is It? And I thought before we get into the meat of this, I wanted to show y'all some things that are kind of got me going here. So hold on one second as he pulls this up. Yeah, there we go. Do not text and drive. Isn't that what they say? Yeah. Okay. I think this will work. It is. So this is a great website, folks. I will be doing a show maybe Saturday, if not early next week. And I've put together all of the different recording stations now popping up, monitoring cosmic rays. Now, this is Mexico City, as you can see. And what's really getting interesting, so back in August, right here on the 25th, you can see they hit an all-time registered high of impact on cosmic rays. So that now has set the new benchmark. And as you can see over here, yesterday they had an interesting spike again. Something's going on there. I don't know. And then you can see the deviation as well. Things are changing in our atmosphere is the best thing I can tell you. So anyway, let me get out of here. Just thought I would share that with you so you could see what I was talking about. So I have a question for the audience. You all are the audience, and there's a nice little crowd of us in here, enough where we could serve coffee to everybody or iced tea. In the United States, what is the #1 food additive, and it's not a chemical, it's added to food in the United States? What is that thing that they add virtually to all food? Does anyone know? Hello, 33 third. So I'm seeing by the overwhelming response that I don't think you know. That's cool. Don't worry about it. So let me show you something. I put together a little program, and in case you didn't know, it's sugar. In the United States, Do your research on this. I actually did this for a friend that was in the medical industry and put this together for her to do a presentation. And when I finished it, I said, I have to show this because it all ties in to how bad is it really. Check this out. So what is sugar? It's a sweet crystalline substance mainly consisting of sucrose. Sugar is used as a source of energy, source of income, and a preservation system. It is a highly addictive ingredient because it releases a substance that acts as a reward system to the brain. Can we stop and talk about this a second? It's a highly addictive ingredient because it releases a substance that acts as a reward system to the brain. You train monkeys like that as well. Animals, humans. Many foods contain hidden sugar. Low-fat foods often contain added sugar to enhance flavor. Refined sugar has no nutritional value. Removing refined sugar from the body may cause withdrawal symptoms. Diseases associated with sugar include diabetes, metabolic syndrome, liver disease, heart disease, obesity, high blood pressure, and cancer. Aren't we all feeling good now? Yeah. Let's go on. So as you can see here, here is your brain on sugar. Look at this. I mean, if this isn't startling evidence, look at the brain, how much more stimulated it is on the sugar than it is the cocaine. Yeah. So when you begin to do the research into this and you begin to look and go to your grocery store and just start walking down the aisles. Now, people will say, well, I'm a vegetarian. Fine. You're still not escaping. It's virtually impossible to escape this mind control addictive substance. And that's what it shows. It is used as a form of mind control. Too much sugar? Well, you get this metabolic syndrome. And look what it does to us. Changes our moods, affects pregnancy, affects the kidneys, gives us nausea and diarrhea, physical weakness, tiredness, headaches, insomnia, liver effects, slow heart rate. This is how sugar affects your brain. It affects your energy levels. It will artificially induce a sudden burst of energy, but as we all know, the sugar crash comes. Studies have connected excessive sugar and fat consumption to reduce performance in parts of the brain that deal with memory. Too much sugar starts to create insulin resistance, which causes people to crave more food, especially sugar. This may contribute to diabetes. Not may, it does. Excessive sugar consumption is associated with a host of diseases, including pancreatic cancer, gout, and kidney disease. In a healthy diet, the production of glucose tells your brains to produce insulin, which helps your body regulate blood sugar and also interacts with other hormones to help you feel satiated. Excessive sugar intake is strongly associated with weight gain, even in people who exercise regularly. and they have found a connection between sugar consumption and high blood pressure and heart disease. Here is, no one got the answer, but here it is. 80% of food items in U.S. grocery stores are spiked with added sugar. By 2050, 1/3, 1 in 3 people in the United States will have diabetes. Now, the pharmaceutical companies are salivating over this. You've only begun to see the rash of new diabetic drugs that are hitting the markets. And right now, as I say, I think it's an absolute crime that a pharmaceutical company should be able to broadcast any drugs to a consumer. I think everyone is. If you want to have a drug commercial pitched to us, then you pay for us to go to pharmaceutical college so we can better understand what the crap you're feeding us. I digress. That the following was an editorial comment by the creator, me. So let's take a look to see if you're consuming too much sugar. Excuse me, I'm just going through this. So carbohydrates, breads, pastas. Look at what you eat in a normal day. Now, I know some people eat very healthily. You are the exception to the rule. So it's in everything, 80%. This is what I was trying to get to. Now, they say that 9 tablespoons, 9. For women, it's 6. I mean, it's just crazy. So if you're craving chocolate, your body is actually needing magnesium. Try nuts. Seeds are good. Veggies or fruits. Today, what I'm going to be showing you later on, I'm not sure about all this, but we have to do it. All right. So sugary foods, here's the problem with our soil. Flat out going to tell you, it's no longer mineral rich. So you can see you're lacking chromium, carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, tryptophan, nitrogen, calcium, chloride, silicon. You can just go right down the list. But unfortunately, as it is with the majority of Americans, they don't have this. They will go to a snack food, fast food, and all they're doing is contributing. And this is why we're seeing the epidemic of childhood diabetes, childhood obesity. Magnesium is the number one thing that I have found most people lack. My wife and I do take magnesium supplements. I learned this a long time when I contracted Lyme disease and meningitis. It depletes. The magnesium is really important. I can't tell you enough. Now, here's the thing. We're seeing dementia beginning to affect adults in their 40s. I mean, folks, this thing is getting serious. We're seeing it more and more at younger ages that should not be happening. So the brain prefers ketones over sugar. Remember that. So, any case, I'll get out of this. And so, yeah. I mean, this is nuts. Now, I don't know what it is over in other countries, but, you know, most countries emulate what we do in the United States. And again, there is another dilemma here. We're feeding people, as I tell people, we're starving people to death by overfeeding them because they're not getting what they need. So, okay. Now, another one. Yeah, let's go to that. And I have the last part of what I did on Tuesday's show. And here's my evidence. Again, you are the jury, so am I. I think we've already convicted ourselves. It's just a matter of what the sentence is. So here's the other reality. We've talked about no fresh water, none. No fresh air. Our air is contaminated. The so-called filtering system of Earth, it's not working. We broke it. And I think Mother Earth is about to tell us how she feels about this. All right, so I'm going to cover a lot of technical things here because I want everyone to realize how bad this really is. We're going to be talking about fertilizers. Now, this is used in the United States. I have other charts for other parts of the world, but we're going to focus in on the United States because the United States provides most of the world's food. So look how much, this is in thousands of metric tons. 2010, we were at 19,800,000, actually it's million, 19,800,000 tons of fertilizer. 2018, you can see the numbers, add another 1,000 tons to that. So a little background here, because I always like to make sure that I have the facts. So when the trolls come in or the naysayers, I always try to question them. Well, tell me which particular fact do you have a problem with? So commercial fertilizers are applied to agriculture crops to increase crop yields. Before the 1950s, most farming occurred on small family farms with limited use of chemicals. If you were born when I was born in the 50s and before, 40s, the 30s, the 20s, amazingly, we were eating better, but not living longer. All right, the shift since then to larger corporate farms has coincided with the use of chemical fertilizers, and may I add, /GMOs, in modern agricultural practices. The three major types of commercial fertilizer are used in the United States are nitrogen, phosphate, and potash. The last two you need, it's the nitrogen that becomes the problem for the world, as you will see. So here is a chart that shows each state the amount of usage. Now, these just go up to 2011. It's very difficult to find accurate data. And even the EPA admits it. So here you can go and see by state, Alabama. Now, the interesting thing about these states along the Gulf Coast, these you may see as a reduction, but I have a chart, you're going to see the graph. The amount of nitrogen that these states in their agriculture use, you're going to see why there's no fresh drinking water. These are the rest of the states. Check out your favorite place. You can see exactly what your state is doing or is not doing. And again, numbers, you have to know how the statistics are gathered and how they're put together. This is from the EPA, and it shows you the problem again is nitrogen. Potash and phosphate are naturally occurring elements in our earth, and you need them to grow the food. It's the nitrogen. We have so artificially pumped up the nitrogen that it's a catastrophe. Again, showing the usage and the coverage. Again, corn, cotton, soybeans, and wheat. Those are the 4 major crops in the United States. And you can see how they actually use the amount of fertilizers to compensate. So this is from the UN. This was the latest one that I had on this was 2015-16. They said the global fertilizer used is likely to rise above 200.5 million tons in 2018, 25% higher than recorded in 2008. So there's a 10-year span, and you can see it's a 25% worldwide increase, primarily, again, folks, nitrogen. World fertilizer consumption will grow by 1.8% a year through 2018, according to this UN agency. And I'll leave the links when I repost this that you can go and check the data yourself. At the same time, the global capacity of fertilizer products, intermediates, and raw material will increase further. And it's when they start adding to the nitrogen, the potash, and the phosphate that becomes the real stick and the real problem here. It goes on to say that the global use of nitrogen, by far the largest fertilizer base, is projected to rise 1.5% each year through 2018, while phosphate use will increase 2.2, potash 2.6, respectively. So, yeah. Nitrogen. So they're using it so much. It's amazing how many of us don't really know what it does. By the way, nitrogen is in all 3 forms, solid, gaseous, etc. Is found primarily in an organic form in soils, but can also occur as a nitrate. That's where you get bombs. Because nitrate is extremely soluble and mobile, it can lead to a nuisance algal growth. Really? Tell the folks around the world. I got reports from people all over this algae. It's just everywhere, mostly in downstream estuaries. Well, isn't that special? And cause contamination of, oh my God, drinking water. Nitrogen fertilizer can also stimulate the release of nitrous oxide. Well, we'll all at least be happy, right? A greenhouse gas from soils. And it goes on to talk about phosphorus occurs in the soil in several forms, both organic and inorganic. And then potash is the oxide, a form of potassium. And the thing about potassium, by the way, is that they've taken this naturally occurring baseline substance, and basically you will find potassium almost in every pharmaceutical drug that's out there. So nitrogen, there it is on the periodic table. Demand for nitrogen fertilizers, again, is expected to grow fastest in the sub-Saharan Africa. Now, when you see what's going on here, this is why the fact is that there is no more living soil. At 4.6% a year. However, as current usage, there is a low. The region will grow in 2018 only using 340,000 tons, additional tons of nitrogen than in 2014, accounting for less than 5% of the projected global increase. Why, I feel so much better now. In East and South Asia, which combined account for 60% of all the nitrogen fertilizer used, 60%. Growth over the next 4 years will be moderate, but account for a 3.3 million additional tons in volume each year. North American farmers are expected to use an additional 300,000 tons of nitrogen fertilizer in 2018, reflecting an annual growth rate of about 0.5%, while Western European farmers are set to reduce their use by 50,000 tons. Now, whether they're doing it, I don't know. So you have this nitrogen fixation definition, and that's converting nitrogen gas into ammonia by bacteria in soil and on roots of plants called legumes. So let's just see, anytime I start hearing this, well, I think of a filtration system. So this is how the nitrogen is in the atmosphere. You can see how it reacts to the sunlight and how it goes through each one of these having an effect, a positive effect, because you have to have it for growing food. But look how they get it. So they get the natural gas, the water, and the air, and they take it to an ammonia plant. And the ammonia plant then produces the CO2 that goes on out. You can see here, nitric acid plant, nitrophosphate plant, phosphatic acid, and sulfuric acid. I don't know, every time I hear acid, I don't think that the stuff is really good, but this is how we manufacture this stuff. And then here's the problem. Once it gets into the substrate of the soil, we have no control over it. And it's a cumulative effect. It doesn't, I think so often people think that this is just, nature just absorbs it and then somehow just filtered it out like a kidney and it comes out and the soil's fine. No. You take away the fertilizer, the soil, it's not going to grow anymore. I can hear the righteous brothers in the back of my head. Now, here is something that, again, since 1960, nitrogen accounted for the steepest increase in use. And it goes on and brings out the numbers basically from about 17 pounds per acre per year in 1960 to a peak of 83.6 pounds per acre per year. I don't know about you. If those were sales numbers, we're having a party. But just use your cognitive reasoning. That's not good. Anyway, in 2014, nitrogen accounted for about 57% of the total fertilizer use, up from 37% in 1960. During the same period, phosphate and potash use grew more slowly. Again, now this is what I found interesting. This was on the EPA website giving all the statistics. Limitations. You're going to love this. Estimates of fertilizer use are based on sales data provided by states, not actual fertilizer usage, and are susceptible to differing reporting procedures or accuracies from state to state. Translation, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're guessing. Within the arms, not all states report fertilizer data every year for each crop type. Well, there's a problem, making it difficult to establish year-to-year trends. A decrease in fertilizer use for a specific crop may be attributed to failure of a state to report rather than an actual decrease of use. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the world we live in. This is just a typical example of how we build our lives on facts and stats that absolutely have no facts or stats. But I digress. Arm sampling is limited to programmed states, which represent 87 to 96% of crop acreage. Of course, now we're saying that they're actually going to give you the data. The NASS acreage report has estimates of acreage in production for the entire nation by crop, while fertilizer sales data are based only on USDA program states. Even though the USDA program states represent the majority of U.S. planted acreage, often more than 90%, the ability to generalize the data to the contrary as a whole is unknown. Oh, the data of the country, excuse me. As non-program states, while representing a small percentage of a crop, might have much different application rates due to climate, weather, etc. Fertilizer applied to trees that are considered agricultural crops, nut-producing trees, is included in field crop summaries, but fertilizer applied to the silviculture, i.e. southern pine plantation, is not covered by the data. Loading of nutrients in aquatic system is not necessarily correlated directly to fertilizer use in excess of amounts used by crops, natural vegetation, and soil biodata. Oh, really? I mean, if this was a medical diagnosis given to you by your doctor, what would you say to him? Like, what the hell does that mean? All right, now let's get into the trifecta. Pesticides. We talked about fertilizers. Now let's talk about pesticides. Pesticides are substances that are meant to control pests, including weeds. In turn, pesticide includes all of the following: herbicide, insecticides, which may include insect growth regulators, termicides, etc., nematicides, I think I mispronounced that one, nematicides, molluscites, pesticides, avicides, rhodocides, I think that's exactly, rhodocyndicide, bactericide, insect repellent, animal repellent, anatomical, forget it, fungicide, disinfectant, and sanitizer. I mean, how much you want to bet each one of those categories have a whole host of chemical compounds, their own little special cocktails. The most common of these herbicides, which account for approximately 80% of all pesticides use. Most pesticides are intended to serve as plant protection products, also known as crop protection products, or CPP, which in general protects plants from weeds, fungi, and insects. Okay, it's telling us that it's for us so we can have food. In general, a pesticide is a chemical or biological agent, such as a virus, bacterium, or fungus, that deters, incapacitates, I love that word, kills, or otherwise discourages pests. Target pests can include insects, plant pathogens, weeds, mollusks, birds, mammals, fish, nematodes, roundworms, microbes that destroy property, cause nuisances, or spread disease, or are disease vectors. Although pesticides have benefits, some also have drawbacks, such as potential toxicity to humans and other species. So you think, okay, possible side effects. Now here's something that was very interesting. I had to throw this in on the history side. Since before 2000 BC, humans have utilized pesticides to protect their crops. Are you ready? Who was the first ones? How many of you follow me? Raise your hands. Can you say Sumerians? Oh, yes, the race that taught us everything. The first known pesticides were elemental sulfur dusting used in ancient Sumer about 4,500 years ago in Mesopotamia. The Rig Veda, which is about 4,000 years old, mentions the use of poisonous plants for pest control. By the 15th century, toxic chemicals such as arsenic, mercury, and lead were being applied to crops to kill pests. Well, there you go. May kill the pest, but it's going to kill you in the end. Same thing still going on. In the 17th century, nicotine sulfate was extracted from tobacco leaves for use as an insecticide. And now we know why we have cigarettes. The 19th century saw the introduction of two more natural pesticides, pyrethrum, which is derived from chrysanthemums, and rhododendron, which is derived from the roots of a tropical vegetable. Until the 50s, arsenic-based pesticides were dominant. Arsenic. Okay. Paul Mueller discovered that DDT was a very effective insecticide. Organochlorines, such as DDT, were dominant, but they were replaced in the US by organophosphates and carbonates by 1975. Since then, pyrethrum compounds have become the dominant insecticide. Herbicides became common in the 1960s, led by triazine and other nitrogen, there we go, based compounds. Carbolytic acids such as the 2,4, and I'm not going to even go there. You can say it for yourself in glyphosate. But isn't it interesting? The Sumerians, there they are again. So, the pesticides, they're just as bad as the fertilizers. I mean, we're adding all this crap, and you get the whole photosynthesis going on with the sun. You have a degradation going on because of the UV. It turns into a vapor, which then gets into the atmosphere. Then it's absorbed by the ground, leached down to the water table, all the way out into our rivers and streams. So the chemicals sprayed on the plants enter in the rivers, the lakes, and the oceans through storm drains and surface runoff when it rains. You like playing golf? Yeah. Huge problem there. Did I say golf? Because I really enjoyed the game. But, you don't get those pretty golf courses by nature itself. So let's talk about something that has been highly debated, anywhere from, cell phone towers to direct pesticides. But what we do know is that there is a collapse taking place with this species. Now, no one wants to say it's by the insecticides, fertilizers, and herbicides. But let's talk about the insecticides. Most chemical insecticides act by poisoning the nervous system. Well, if it does theirs, what do you think it's going to do to ours? Difficult to kill target insects. Did you know that? I mean, if you're going to spray for a particular insect, you're going to have a lot of casualties on the side. Collateral damage may harm other species like non-pest insects, wildlife, pets, and humans. Really? Some insecticides harm water quality or affect organisms in other ways. I bet. Systematic insecticides are absorbed by plant tissue. Insects are poisoned when they feed on the sap. Do you think it might be affecting us? Fungates are insecticidal gases. They are used by exterminators to treat cockroaches, bedbugs, beetles in grain bins, grubs in the soil. They have to store this food somewhere, folks, on the farms. And so they have to take measures when you store great amounts of food in silos, etc. You're going to get mice and etc. that do crawl through the food, but that's nature. Systematic insecticides are absorbed through plant tissues. Insects are poisoned when they feed on the sap. Now, stomach insecticides are eaten by insects that chew, such as caterpillars, grasshoppers, and ants. And out here in the West, we know about grasshoppers. They are added to baits or applied to other food sources like plants, fabric, and woods. Contact insecticides are effective in most soft body insects. They are sprayed or dusted on the body of the insect, i.e. mosquitoes, ants, etc. Residual insecticides are placed on flora, screens, walls, livestock, pets. Insects absorb deadly doses when they touch these surfaces. But you want me to put the stuff on and it's not going to harm me. Okay. Effects on human. Well, let's just see here. Brain disorders, fatigue, skin irritations, nausea, vomiting, breathing problems, blood disorders, liver and kidney damage, reproductive damage, cancer, and then death. Now, you don't think it's bad? And this isn't the latest one. This one's 2 years old. Every stream, every river contaminated. There's not one stream, tributary, or river in the United States that is not contaminated. Yeah. So much for the artesian wells and the aquifers. How about this one? Now, the reason why you don't see in Nevada is because it's all freaking desert. But look at this, folks, the bread belt. This is the pesticides leaching from the soils. Yeah. Don't tell me this is not affecting us, our children. Now, it's important to have an understanding that there is a difference between pesticides and herbicides. They all got sides, but you have to pick the right sides. So a pesticide is a chemical used to exterminate pests. Whereas the herbicide is used directly against the plant. Somehow or another, we're going to end up eating this stuff. Disadvantages of pesticides, do you think? Reduction of beneficial species, drifts of spray and vapors, residues and foods, groundwater contamination, resistance, poisoning hazards, and other possible health effects that they ain't going to tell us about. It's like this. You have a green yard and you go to Home Depot and you buy your sack of fertilizer and you put it on your lawn and, you like having the green yard. You don't want any weeds in there. It's still running off. So you can ingest by the mouth, the GI tract, or through feces. Now, the interesting thing about feces is what most people don't realize is that feces will eventually degrade back down to what we would call an organic state. In other words, it can actually get lifted up into the air, into the dust. Many of us breathe in feces. You just don't realize it. You don't stop and think about it. I guess it says that you basically are eating shit, but I didn't say that. So you can do the inhalation through the nose and the mouth, which then gets into the lungs, livers, kidneys, and then the urine. Oh, I talked to you about the urine. We're going to talk more about that. And then skin absorption. Listen, the most effective body, I think when they do the next version of us, we're not going to have any per se lungs, and we certainly won't have any digestional tracts. No need to. The skin can absorb everything it needs, all its nutrients, air, everything. But anyway, when you get it through your skin, then that goes directly to the blood and the lymph glands. And it's also absorbed into your fat cells. Yeah. And then the other. So no clean air, no clean water, no clean soil. I mean, what have we done here? I don't know. I wish I did. But the evidence is overwhelming. And I've got yet one other video on how bad the water situation is. So just to balance it out, again, I don't expect any of these to ever get that much view time, but we will. So the coming water wars. You ready for this one? Everything I just shown, the food, water, the planet, we're not slowing down on population. We're exploding. And every time you have a new life coming into this temporal realm, they must have air, water, and food primarily. Then comes shelter, clothing, etc. Now, the global warming, and there's a lot of debate on this, but listen, I don't need to stick my head in the microwave to tell me that it's hot in there. It's been hot where I live. It's been unusually hot. Now, to keep this in perspective, the 30s were even hotter. But a lot of the surface water is also polluted. And it's not available to human use. And the thing about it is, you look how much water compared to saline water, fresh water is a valuable, valuable commodity. The global population tripled in the 20th century, but the water consumption went up 7-fold. Privatization of water first in developed and now in developing countries. Do you know that the United States is selling its fresh water to Canada out of the Great Lakes? Yeah. Billions and billions of tons. There won't be any water for people to cook or wash, not even to drink. And that's when it's going to start getting interesting. Because what we're finding as you begin to deplete these things, viruses begin to take hold. I contend that the virus is the most superior of all life forms. And then you begin to spread diseases, infectious diseases, and people will fight over a sip of water. Out here in the West, we know about water. It's a very rare commodity. Now look at this. You begin to take a look at this through irrigation, which represents by far the majority of it. You have to have water to grow your food. Then livestock. People are going to eat meat. Then you have it for the domestic use. That's primarily your washing, bathing, general consumption use. So here's the thing. One serving of beef uses 4,600 liters of water to get it to be able to do this. A chicken, 1,200. One serving of a vegan meal still uses 371 liters because you have to grow the tofu, the rice, and the vegetables. So you look at what the water is beneath us. We're pumping it out faster. If you look at the San Joaquin Valley in California, it has sunk over, and I think at the last I read, almost 6 feet. It's how much water they have pumped out. And when people cannot drink, they will find a way to get what they must have. What I contend, it's not oil that we'll go to war next with, it'll be water. And here is an estimation by which countries are going to be in the biggest hurt. And as you see, the United States is right up there, along with China, India, Turkey, the Middle East, Australia, Indonesia. 3.5 million, 3.4, excuse me, die each year because they didn't have enough water. And the water that they did have was contaminated. Now, we've known here what happens when you have a disruption to the municipality services. And then look at this. This is the distribution of global water, groundwater. Look at how much in comparison that we have for fresh water. 2.5% of all the world's water is fresh. 2.5%. I mean, you know, that's like having water everywhere, but you can't drink a drop, huh? How many people have said that were lost in the oceans? And it's going to get to this way. We're going to have the same thing that happened in World War II. When it happens, and something is going to happen, it's inevitable, they'll start rationing. And in the interim, when we have all of this, we're dealing epidemically, particularly in the United States, but now affecting all industrial countries, obesity. It's killing our youth. And we play this endless cycle, weight gain, weight loss. And do you know that hunger is a real problem, not just in the world, but in the United States? In the poorest states, primarily in the South and the Southeast, look how many people of their population go hungry. And I think these are underestimated. Isn't it true? We used to measure by how tall you get. Now it's how round you are. So we're feeding to starve. And when you think about the fact that every 3.5 seconds, someone is dying of hunger, yet in the United States, it's just the opposite. We're dying because we're eating too much. And this is what happens when war comes in. The first thing that is impacted is agriculture. And that just leads to more conflict. It's bad. World population. By 2050, they're estimating 9 billion people. If they all want the lifestyle that is projected by what the programming shows, oof, that just gives you a taste. Every one of these numbers represent a human being. And this kind of tells you where you see income levels based to regions. And you can begin to see that the higher the income levels, the more resources they consume. No stopping, just continuation. Well, so maybe there is a solution. Maybe that's what the GMOs are designed to do. It's coming. Yeah, I know. It sucks, doesn't it? Anyway, I don't know. I appreciate everyone still in here. I mean, this is kind of, this is so startling in your face that it's beyond the house of mirrors. Because no matter where you look, the reflection stares us in the face. And I think that that's why we drown ourselves in technology. We don't want to be aware of these facts. We don't want to know this. What we want to do is go to our grocery store, be able to buy the food. I want to be able to get on the internet. I want to make sure that I have my smartphone and I have my apps, that I can watch my television and I can go to sleep in the comfort of my air conditioning, or if it's cold, I can have the heat on. And as long as I get my daily dose of what stimulates me and distracts me, the hell with the rest of the world. Yeah, you see what my shirt says? So I'm a habitual line stepper. And for a lot of people, they won't watch this. They don't want to hear it. And, watch, someone will put the thumbs down on this. And you got to say, well, then you're not human. Because it shows a total lack of empathy. They are the people I just described. As long as they are consuming, as long as the supply is there, they don't care. And the minute there's an interruption, they'll be the ones that will become the anarchists. They're the ones that will slit your throat in a second. You don't think it's true? We just had a story here in Denver of a 16-year-old killing a 7-year-old. Something's wrong, folks. Now, I'll just tell it like it is. They're killing us. Flat out killing us. But yet, our species, and you watch the liberal media, what they always try to do is paint a picture of a utopia that doesn't exist. What should be on the news is the environmental impact that we're having, not this politics nonsense, not this disease of hate that has so taken root in the United States that most people now have this condition of where all they do is hate. And it so has distracted them from the real things that are killing them. And all I know, if we don't figure this thing out real soon, at some point in time, this is going to pop. And when it pops, all the positive meditation, all the so-called ascension to the next level is all BS. I'll just be flat straight with you. It's BS, because it's only a small percentage that would even comprehend that. The vast majority out there is completely lost, doesn't give a damn about any ascension, don't care about what my soul is doing, because I've got the sweet Jesus. And other than that, I'm doing fine. Yeah, it's ugly. It's ugly. But damn it, someone has got to tell the truth. And I'm not charging you a dime for this. I won't take your money. I'm just telling you something is wrong fundamentally. When we got these type of issues facing us, and yet people will not be accountable enough to themselves and to their species to say, hey, I'm not going to let this happen anymore. But what do? When you got the large corporations now owning 90% of the farmland? Folks, think about this. They control the food. They control the food. Do you know in many municipalities in the United States, you cannot grow food in your own yard? It's against city ordinances. In many cases, you have to have a permit. Hello, Skywalker. Greetings from Africa. How are you? So I know this has been a hard one. I get it, folks. You know, but at some point we're going to wake up or we're going to be dead. Death is coming for all of us, but there's no need to advance it unnecessarily. But if you're eating and drinking and breathing that which is contributing to the disease that will show up in your body, what do? I don't know. I do know this. I'll be on the Artist First Network tonight. Going to be covering this. I'm going to continue with the audience that's on the radio show. I hit a very broad international audience, and I'm going to continue to talk this. We need to talk about how bad it really is. Tomorrow night, got Sherry Spears on here. We're going to talk maybe about doing some positive things, maybe talking to the earth. Maybe we could really get the earth to say, hey, don't blame me. I'm trying to be part of the answer here. But hey, I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for joining me. Let me know your comments, good or bad. You got to have thick skin on this one. I'll tell you, it's like being a piece of beef jerky. But thank you all. I'll see you tomorrow for sure. Be good to yourselves, and let's just try to maybe do something. I'll just confess this. I went into my kitchen since I started this, and I started pulling things out of the pantry onto the counters, and I put them into two groups. The one that have the petrochemicals, the plastics and everything else into that category. The other one was into the metal group, you know, tin cans, what have you, and then glass. Glass was the least. The canned goods, second to the least. The overwhelming majority of the packaging was plastic. And, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I guess maybe you can go to a bulk store and buy it raw, but I don't know. Thank you, Nova Scotia. Haley, thank you. Thank you. But folks, maybe through efforts like this, we're just a small group, but maybe we can do something. If any of you have any good ideas that you think that you could begin to alter this, let me know. I'll put you in touch with some potential investors, and let's see. Let me tell you, I'm glad I brought this up as I cut out in here. If someone watches this all to the end, then this was meant for you when you hear this. I just demonstrated a overwhelming bad situation. Now, the entrepreneur part of me is saying, I just presented to my audience, you're bright men and women. You're ambitious. I know many of you are entrepreneurs. And I'm telling you, I just presented someone potentially hearing my voice could be the next billionaire with a solution to any one of those three problems. And that's all it takes. If you know how to write a business plan and you have a good idea and they're out there, let me know. If it has some legs, as they would say it, things can start working. So anyway, there we go. So all the best to you. Appreciate you all. We'll see you real soon again. All right. Bye-bye.